You
Yeah, if
got
it
it.
goes up,
Hello,
hi.
and don't go ahead.
Yeah, we can't wait to decide who
We
was.
can't wait. We're so excited.
We are so excited. Yeah, hi, this is Selena, and this is Selena Rifkin. This is Jason Douglas. We are here with Connecticut Common Sense, and we're talking about all things Connecticut today, which is what we usually do. So, nothing
Yes,
new
we
here,
are.
but lots of new things because there's so much in the news.
There sure is. Things are go. First of all, I want to talk about, and this is not a Connecticut thing yet. We'll get into that.
Okay.
But the boat with the 11 drug dealers and the 52 pounds of cocaine on it that they blew out of the water the other day.
Yep.
I just want to give a plot of
I,
applause.
I I
Isn't
have
that
to
beautiful? What a
agree.
beautiful thing.
I have
Beautiful.
to
You know
agree.
what? There's your due process, boys.
Yeah,
You
you
can't bring them in front of a
can't feel
judge
bad
anymore,
about
can you?
just can't feel bad about that. I mean,
I
you
don't feel
know,
bad. I think it's wonderful. I hope it happens more. As
there
long as
was
we
a
know it's
whole
the
lot
right
of
boat. I mean,
there was a whole lot of talk before the election about, this kind of thing. And it's like, we should relicense privateers. Why don't, we need some letters of marque going around. Private citizens would just there's a whole lot of people out there that would just think that was just fabulous.
yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome. Takes care of business. I love it. I just love it. There's no
Yeah.
district judge. Well, the district judge is going to wait a minute though. The district judge in San Francisco is going to issue an injunction. We're going to have to put the boat back together and bring those people back to life now.
I saw another one with we need to send in, we need to give that, we need to airdrop in like some, attorney generals, like maybe some state attorney generals so that these people have proper representation. Just airdrop them in. Just drop them in
Airdrop right
Venezuela.
in.
Yeah.
I
So
love it. I love it. I
I'm
love it.
sure that our AG would be really happy to go and represent people that are the drug cartels that are coming from
I'm more
Venezuela.
than happy to. Like,
Yeah. I mean, he's a super nice guy. He cares a lot about these people. The caring is deep, and we should
oh,
respect that.
yeah, sure. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about housing in Connecticut. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
a topic that I think. First of all, who was our guest that was supposed to be on today?
Um, yeah, he was a candidate for governor, and I don't know what happened. Yeah, I confirmed with him this morning, and I don't know why he's not here. So hopefully he's okay and
Yes.
hasn't had a horrible accident and been killed by an illegal immigrant or something like
Oh
that.
my Lord, please, I hope not.
Yeah, yeah, that
Like
would.
that poor woman on the. I saw the video of the woman on the subway in North Carolina.
Well, apparently there's at least there are plenty of other women, white women who, have been killed by illegal immigrants or crazy people that didn't make it onto the news. And, the news agencies like Axios and MSNBC, they're just going on and on about how the right is turning this into a talking point.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Look, can we pull? I know we can't censor free speech. We don't. Nobody wants
No,
to do
that'd
that.
be bad. We
But
need to
can't
know who
we?
people
Can't.
are.
But yeah, but can't like an organization like MSNBC or CNN especially that are literally covering up crime. Like they're literally like they're used. Some of these new organizations are using deliberate deception to goad the people into thinking creating entirely a false narrative about what's really going on in the country and covering up crime. So we can't stop them from saying it. But can't we just take away? Let's talk about taking away their license to be a news organization because they're not a new CNN is. I'm sorry, CNN is not a news organization. They're simply not. Their
No,
programming is, and I'm just using CNN as an example. You could argue CBS News is not a news organization as well. Look what they did with Christine Noem's interview a couple weeks ago. For those of you not aware of that,
oh yeah, yeah, that
talking
was
about the Maryland dad or whatever,
yeah.
you know,
Maryland.
she went on this big tirade about all these terrible things that he's done. And then at the end, she just said, "We're just going to make sure he gets deported." And CBS took out all the terrible things he's done and just left that. We're just going to get somebody deported,
Yeah,
make it
there was
look
some
like
strange
Noam was
editing there.
just
Yeah.
so bad. And they called it just normal editing.
Mhm.
That's
Oh yeah, for time. Yeah, they were editing it
yeah,
for
just editing it for time, normal editing for time. That
right.
is wrong. All right, so when you behave in such a deceptive manner, and you're a propaganda machine. So I think they should be. Sure, you got to still have a license and let them talk because that's free speech.
Hmm.
But they're no longer should be classified as a new. Their license to be a news organization should be revoked, and they can
Yeah.
now they can have a new license to be. There are other categories like tabloid,
Right. Yeah, they're
right?
tabloid.
Propaganda, political. They're a pack. They're a media pack,
I think that would be
but
more.
they're not a news organization.
Yeah,
You
no, you're
see,
right. No, you can't call them news.
no. So I think we need to start going down that road.
You know what the top news organization is? I think in the US, but in many places in the world, the top news organization, not top source of news, is X.
You're probably right.
No, I get,
Probably right.
yeah, that's like
Yeah, and
source
even
of
yeah, you're
news.
probably right.
Yeah,
And even
which is
Facebook
better
too.
than
Although
Facebook.
Facebook has got even Facebook too. Although Zuckerberg has vowed not to censor anymore. I don't know. Like I've been
I
saying
don't
a lot of
buy it.
things on.
Don't
I
buy
don't know. I don't know if he's living up to it or not.
it.
But I know that I've been saying a lot of things on Facebook, and I have not been stopped yet
Okay.
myself.
Well,
So
you know what? I, I can't deal with Facebook. I have too many people. If I get on Facebook, no matter what name I use, the algorithm is going to say, oh, all of these people probably know you. And then they're going to want to friend me.
yeah.
And I
Oh, I
don't
know. I
want,
see that. I know. A
yeah.
lot of people like I noticed that with X, it's not true, but on Facebook, a lot of people that from my normal life, from my past and
Right.
present, are
Right.
all everywhere in there. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, what about this one? I don't like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's like,
that
God, stop that. Just-
it gets you if you can click yes on all of them, and you really find out who your real friends are at that point.
Well, my problem is that I tend to, and my husband has a similar problem. It's like if you are involved in any kind of creative community or you're an artist, my husband's a musician, and and half the people on his feed are have a really bad case of TDS, and that's true with a lot of the people I know as well.
Yeah,
And this is it's like I have so many, like the majority of people that I was hanging
yeah.
out with for the last 20 years, like, for
How
the
do we
last
cure
20
these
years
people? How do we
have,
help you? How do we help these people? Like some of these people, I'm sure a lot of your husband's friends are really cool guys, really cool
Mhm.
people.
Yeah,
Really good people. Actually, they're not Marxists or anything like that. So, how do we help these people? How do we
I,
people?
I,
How do we get over TDS? Maybe there should be a TDS. Maybe there should be a clinic. Are people doing that? Is there a clinic for TDS syndrome where people can go in and get
I
help?
don't know.
No,
I
I'm
don't know.
serious. I'm serious. Like I'm joking, but I'm
Oh, we
serious at the same
need
time.
that.
Huh?
We need
We
that.
need that. We do need that.
It's like, oh my
And
God.
we all have friends that I know they're
Have
my
you lost
sister's,
any friends over this?
no, but my
I have.
sister's ex-husband, they're divorced now, but he and I have been very close friends for a long time. And I know he's on the wrong. This guy is the nicest guy in the world, the coolest guy. I mean, he's the best, but he's just TDS. And every time we have a debate, all I can point to is how some in West Africa things aren't what they seem. I'm like, what does that have to do with what's going on in the United States, dude?
Don't know.
So
I
at any
don't
rate,
know.
my point is, I guess, is we were going to have him on the podcast here, but
Right.
then after we had a discussion, he says, I don't want to go on your podcast because he knows I'm going to land based him on here, and he
Mhm.
doesn't want that to destroy our friendship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, I've never really lost a friend because of it yet that I know of. I think there's people that I am friends or acquaintances with that I don't talk to regularly. I
Mhm.
think probably best that I don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for me to talk to a lot of people and just not bring up politics. Really, I think I can still, luckily, find myself able to do that for the most part with people.
Yeah.
Just not, just to talk about other things. That's all.
Yeah.
But I know if I'm asked, I don't really care who you are. I'm going to tell you what I
Mhm.
believe. Like
Yeah.
I just told you,
There's a,
my mom's
yeah.
friends, like a few months ago, a room full of my mom's friends were around. They asked me what I thought about Trump, and I said,
You told
well, I was like, oh no, and I just said, well, you know, like Trump or not like Trump, his economic policies are spot on. I think that's a line that I think people should use because they are,
me. Hmm.
you know.
I'll remember that because I've been advocating for people to have face-to-face, one-on-one conversations with people. Um, because I think that's the only way we're gonna change anything. Now, I had a great
Facts.
conversation with James, who organizes the rallies.
Yes.
And he's a little frustrated because he would have liked more people at the last rally. I mean, the one in June was huge.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be focusing, and he's going to be focusing on like helping candidates for a couple of months. So I'm sure things will pick back up in
Good.
2026.
They
Um,
will.
but he talked about because they have the Trump bus, which if our audience has not checked out the Trump bus, I have to remember what the name of the website, logical conservative dot
Yeah.
is logicalconservative.com.org. I'll have to see if I can find it and put it in the show notes. Um, but James is he's a good friend of the guy who's driving the Trump bus around.
Hmm.
And they go to Ridgefield, for example, and they talk to people. He talks to people in Ridgefield. And when he talks to people, they were like, he'll have a whole lot of people, like dozens of people come up to him on any given day and say, "Oh, wow, this is really cool. So thank
Yeah.
you for driving." And then he asks, he's like, "You want to take a picture?" And they're like, "No, no, I can't have
No,
a
no,
picture
no.
on social
Yeah.
media." They don't want to come on board the bus. And when he does this, it's different people every time. So, it's like there are people out there who share the MAGA sensibility of wanting the country to be moving upward again, however, spiritually or emotionally conservative they are, because a
Except there's
lot
one
of us who are
problem.
MAGA aren't hardcore spiritual conservatives.
Right.
We're not, but we share commonality with this branch of the population,
Based
and
on the numbers.
based on the numbers.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Common sense, the numbers.
yeah, if we can start talking to people. And one of our other friends said, well, try starting the conversation with the electric bills, because
Yeah.
who's happy about that?
Right.
And
Right.
we were talking earlier about housing. If you have to move, that's a bad thing right now,
It
because
is.
the housing market is not very good in Connecticut. And the rental prices are pretty ridiculous.
They've doubled in the
Yep,
last
prices have
5 years.
doubled.
They've doubled,
Yep.
literally doubled. And
Yep.
I think if you go back 7 years, they've probably gone up by more like 140%.
Yeah.
They've more than doubled. Right now, in 2018, I would suggest you could probably get a two-bedroom apartment
There we go.
for $800 a month,
Mm-hmm.
or in a really good one for $1,100 a month.
Yep.
Now you can't get a one-bedroom apartment for less than $1,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
16, 17, and any two-bedroom apartment, you're looking at 18 or more.
Mm-hmm.
And any good quality place really is over $2,000 a month now for renting.
Yep. I am so
Whereas,
undercharging. So, um,
so that's not an accident. And we talked a little bit earlier before we were on about. I want to bring up this tenant, and it has to do with relationships between a professional and a regular person. So you hire, say, a doctor. You go to a
mhm,
doctor. You're sick, you go to a doctor. Or you have legal problems, you go to a lawyer.
mhm,
You go to a car, you need your car fixed, you go to an auto mechanic, right? You need a
mhm.
place to live, you either buy a place, you buy a place, hopefully, but if you don't buy it, you rent, right? So this relationship, people tend to, when they're in this type of relationship with their doctor or their lawyer or their employer for that matter,
Mm.
their boss, quote unquote, or their landlord, quote unquote, they tend to get a little bit of an inferiority complex with themselves. And somehow this doctor is better than them. A lot of doctors and lawyers and people have these attitudes that they do think they're
They
better
do.
than everybody
Yeah,
else.
you
And that
come
adds
into the
to it.
doctor's office and they're like, "Oh no, whatever the heck they say is that's they've been to school for this." And
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's not just, it's really
And you
goes
learn
beyond
stuff
just,
on the internet, just that's useless. Like,
it's
yeah.
not just beyond their knowledge base. It's also an attitude. Like they almost objectify you.
Oh yeah.
The last time I had a doctor as an emergency room. I had a little thing. It was nothing major. It was a while back, but the doctor came in and he didn't even talk to me directly. He looked at the nurse, so cancel the urine on this one, and blah blah blah. Just kind of
Great.
he did. He looked at me once real quick and said, "That's you have this because of that," and then the rest of it was all everybody like I was just an object. And other doctors will sit
Hey.
down and talk to you like you're one on one, right? So I guess my point is people when they dealing with doctors and lawyers and you're hiring these people or when they're renting property
Mhm.
from a landlord, like in housing, is the main point of this. Um, don't get the inferiority complex. You're doing a business when a boss hires you and you're doing a job as an employee. You're doing nothing more than a business transaction.
Hmm.
You're selling your time to that person so they can help their business for a price. It's nothing more than that. He's not better than you. The word boss bothers me.
Hmm.
People grow up and say, "Oh, I have my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, and my boss." Like it's their life boss. Like
Right.
you know, it, especially people who have a job for a long time. No, no, no. You've made a business arrangement with this person
Hmm.
who's
If
your
you're
employer.
providing value, if you're providing actual value to the person in front of you, don't walk into any conversation with this person as if you're, not valuable. Now, if you are not providing value, or if as a tenant you're not taking care of the property in an appropriate fashion, you know, then, then there's something to say there. But if you are
If
right
you're not
from
living up to your end of the deal, if you're not living up to
right,
your
you're
end of
not
the deal, that's
exactly,
one thing. As long as
exactly.
you're living up to your end of the deal,
Right.
then that person is your for like a landlord and a tenant.
Mhm.
I don't know. Same thing with the word landlord. And landlord,
Yeah,
like we
it's an
talked about
obnoxious
earlier,
word.
implies a deity of some kind. You're not a lord. You're a leaseor, and I'm a leasee, and you're selling your
Yes.
property for me to use
Yes. It's a business agreement.
as my own
Yeah. And it can
until
be
the agreement is over.
anti-business
There's
agreements.
nothing right. So
But
you're on the level. You're just
mhm,
two people doing a business transaction. He's not your lord.
right,
He's not your
right.
owner. So, but I guess my point is, patients tend to kiss their doctors' asses too much.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Tenants tend to kiss their landlords' asses too much and let them get away with things they shouldn't get away with. They don't even know. They don't observe their own rights.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if a landlord comes to your house to do something legitimate, repair something, right?
Hmm.
Or whatever reason that's legitimate, and then they sit in the yard for an hour and talk with their friends outside your window,
Yeah.
that's loitering. They can't do that. It's not their house.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's yours.
They're there for
It'd be no different if you went to your landlord's home and sat in
Mhm.
front of their yard with your friends and talked for an hour.
Yeah.
You see, my point is that, and that seems like a nitpicky thing, but it's not because you enjoy the private and quiet privacy of your home. You see,
Yeah.
and it's not the yeah, outside the yard is also your domain. It's not theirs to come and hang around and do what they want.
Hmm.
So because you made a deal with them for a certain transaction, you have certain rights.
Yep.
If your landlord is selling their property and they have to show your apartment for whatever reason, the landlord does not have the right to come in and take pictures inside your apartment of your furniture, of your things
Hmm.
while you're living there. They don't have a right to do that. A lot of landlords will make you assume. That's how they get away with these things. They go and just assume that you don't know what your rights
Well,
are, and
that's, I think
they
that,
just assert their own. He said the landlord has the right to sell his property,
yeah.
whether you live there or not. But he has to do
This
it
is,
without violating your right of privacy, which is more important. You see.
this is knowing, this is, we spend so much time relying on, we need to be responsible for ourselves. And
Hmm.
what we're, you got to know what you got to know.
Educate
And this is
yourself.
tough because, we don't, God, this sunlight is driving me nuts. Thought I had that taken care of. I did not. I'm going to shift over a little bit. Give me.
If there's anything close to a deity that I would observe, it would be the sun. Just saying. Go on. Move on, though. After all, it is the reason why we're here. We wouldn't be here without it. I mean,
Yeah, well, we've got some options, you've got sun gods from several different cultures
or
that you
just
can
the
get
sun itself,
reference.
just the actual sun
Okay,
itself, the ball of flame up there, just
right.
giving us life and warmth and every day of the week. My theory, I know I'm getting off the subject. My theory
You
is
getting off
that
the subject? What?
I heard this in a movie once, but I agree. The very first humans, the very earliest of people,
Hmm.
must have seen the sun as some sort of. They must have known that the sun was the reason why they had the warmth and they could do the things they do. Like that, it was just providing that life to us, and so the sun is what I give reverence to. But anyway, getting back to the housing thing and your relationship with doctors and lawyers, and I'll tell you a quick story. Maybe I told this once before, but it's worth telling again. When my son was about 6 or 7 years old, he got sick. He got fever, and he was
Hmm.
out of school and weak, and you know, kids get sick, right? We didn't think much of it, but after about 3 days, his mom became concerned that his fever seemed to be persisting. So she did the right thing. She took him to the hospital, to the doctor, to the
Hmm.
emergency room actually, because he was had running a high fever, really sick. It had been a while. She was in the emergency room with Johnson in Stafford, and she called me, and I came over, and we're all there, and we're waiting. The doctor comes in, and he does an examination, whatever, and then he says We're gonna have to give this kid a spinal tap. Let's set him up for a spinal tap. Okay. Now, his mom is exactly what I'm talking about. Worships the doctor, worships the lawyer, worships
Oh,
the landlord, worships the
yeah.
boss. Okay, she says, right? Of course, luckily, I decided to go. I almost didn't go because I knew he just had a fever, and she was very concerned about him. I wasn't as concerned because kids get sick, And I was
Right.
like, okay, well, okay, I'm gonna, okay, I gotta go. It's my kid. I'm gonna go. So I went, but I wasn't as worried
Hmm.
as she was. I just figured, nasty flu
Female,
bugs are going around.
female, we're more prone to that kind of thing. We are.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to keel over. I was really not worried,
Yeah.
but I went anyway because I was support. And so luckily, I did because I was like, no, 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 no. Wait, excuse me, doctor. What is this spinal tap? First of all, and I started
Right.
asking these questions. Right after about the sixth question,
Hmm.
because he goes like this. He says, back goes, It's like Logan. He says, would you mind standing up off the bed for a minute? So Logan kind of lazily gets up, stands up. Says, yeah. He's like, do me a favor, stand on your toes for a minute. He gets on his toes. He goes, can you jump up in the air? And he goes, right? Does a little jump, gets about 4 or 5 inches off the ground, right? So then he goes, okay. He's like, you can cancel the spinal tap. He's like, he was trying to rule out meningitis apparently with the cancels the spinal tap. Even his mom admitted
Wow.
that I
Here,
saved the day.
let's chart. How much would that spinal tap have
Wow.
earned the hospital?
And not to mention, what would that have done to my son? Do you know did people know what a spinal tap is? It's a test with risk, a lot of risk attached to it,
Yeah.
and it's the drama of putting a spinal tap is literally taking I believe, a 6 inch needle and sticking it up your
Yeah.
spinal cord.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, like if you
my
don't have
six
to
year
do
old
that,
son.
if you don't have to do that, let's not.
So
So, oh
that
look,
is a
there was a simple test that we can do that will determine this with reasonable
yeah.
accuracy.
How much did it cost to have the kid jump up in the air?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So that's my point, I guess, when I say don't just assume that because a doctor or a lawyer or a you know chef in a restaurant or whatever, someone who thinks that they're an expert tells you something,
Mm-hmm.
that is automatically true.
I have similar experiences with doctors. I mean, I grew up with like I had chronic sinus infections. And my mother, very comfortable with hospitals. She was a medical technologist and she would, and she worked in a hospital. She was very good at drawing blood. She's very comfortable in a hospital.
Mhm.
Trust doctors, took me to lots of doctors growing up, and I had this chronic sinus infection thing going on. So she took me to the sinus specialist, and it was like I knew him well enough that if I fished around in my brain, I could actually pull his name up. It's probably started when I don't even know when it started, honestly. But I would blow my nose and nothing would happen, and I was so loud that in
Mhm.
kindergarten they called me foghorn.
Oh, that's funny. I got burger nose, so you got a little bit better
Okay,
than
all right, that's good.
me.
They call me foghorn.
Foghorn, that's funny.
Yeah, so this started, I was little. I was like,
Yeah,
you're
first grade,
four or
second
five
grade.
years
Yeah,
old when you're in
yeah,
kindergarten. So she started
right.
taking me to this doctor. And he's trying to, I don't even remember what he tried, but we finally got to the point where he kept wanting to wash out my sinuses. And I'm like,
Uh,
so I finally decided they're going to wash out my sinuses. So they take a needle that's about this long, and I'm not
oh
kidding.
God.
They jam it up into your nose. It goes
Oh,
through the soft tissues. Yeah, I know this was loads of fun until it's
yeah.
in your sinuses. And then they pump sterile saline up there to wash out whatever is in the sinuses.
Oh,
This is a thoroughly unpleasant thing. Like it hurts. I will tell you that it hurts.
sounds horrific.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're doing this to a little kid. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, they would do that, and it's like bad things came out. Yes, bad things came out. I'm not going to kid you about that.
probably good things too. A few good things along with it, probably.
Potentially, I don't know. But it would be fine for a little while,
Mhm.
and then it would come back again. So it
To
wasn't
bring you back and do it again.
yeah, yeah. I think we
Oh,
did this two or maybe three times before
oh,
I'm like, no, we're done now. And I
yeah. I'm
don't
not doing this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you're gonna have to fight me on this. Um, so it never did anything. And I finally got so disgusted with this situation with my sinuses. I couldn't breathe. And I finally found out about, you're gonna love this, biofeedback.
Oh, they can fix it with just
No,
by talking to you.
biofeedback is when you think about it and make it
Right.
fix.
Just by psychological
Yeah,
psychological
yeah.
means.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. why not try? So as a child, I'm doing this. I was not I mean, I couldn't have been more than 12 at that point. I think I
Yeah,
started looking at around meditation, figured out meditation at that point. So I started thinking about my sinuses being clear. And wouldn't you know it,
it worked.
it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psychosomatics are amazing. They really
Yeah.
are.
So yeah, I mean, my father-in-law was he did hypnotism and he was Harry, he was 93 when I met him. So he was born in, I think he was born in like 1903.
Wow. You can meet new
Yeah.
people when you're 93. Go figure, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and he would, he helped a lot of people. So the story goes that he got interested in this. And he studied Kabbalah and some other things is, Jewish. So it's like, why not have a look at that? And so he studied mysticism and, ghosts and stuff like that and the supernatural, but he did hypnotism. And the best story that he had was that there was a surgeon that came to him because he was desperate, and this would have been in the 50s. And the guy had developed a tremor in his hands. And he couldn't do surgery anymore. He'd stopped doing surgery. So he was desperate. He came to Harry. It was like one of those last ditch things, which is, often what happens with any kind of alternative care.
Sure.
Harry hypnotized him, and after 2 sessions, the guy was able to go back to doing surgery again.
That's amazing.
It is. And so this surgeon referred many people to Harry after that. So
Well, the surgeon had the honesty to
mhm.
forego the clients and do the right thing.
Yeah, yeah, he was,
Not all surgeons would do that, probably.
not indeed,
You know,
certainly didn't
when
now.
I was 8 years old, my mom took me to an eye doctor. She just
Mm.
wanted an eyes checked, right?
Hmm.
And the eye doctor at the end of the appointment, I went through the whole procedure. They dilated my eyes, whatever.
Yeah.
And when it was over, my mother comes out and they both sit down. They tell me I need eyeglasses.
Hmm.
And now I was probably a little older than that. I was probably 9. My vision was perfect. I mean, I
Mm.
felt like I used to call myself Eagle Eye.
Right.
Told my mother flat out, I'm not going to wear glasses. It's not going to happen.
Hmm.
Sorry. I know I'm usually pretty good and I obey you, but I'm not.
Hmm.
Buy me glasses. I'm just not going to wear them, and
Right.
they're going to get lost. And when you buy me more, I'm going to get lost again because I'm never going to wear them. I can
Right.
see perfectly. This guy's a quack. Luckily, my mom listened to me. Actually, listened to me.
Okay.
Didn't go through the prescription for the glasses. And now, I mean, I only wear reading glasses. I wear these now. It wasn't until just a couple years ago. My eyes were fine for my entire life.
Hmm.
Whatever he was saying was bull.
Hmm.
Now I'm older, my eyes are getting a little wacky, and I need glasses and stuff. But it wasn't something I needed when I was 8 years old. So once again, I'm an 8 year old boy. I was able to outsmart or not or outmaneuver, and luckily convince my mom to do the right thing, save myself from who knows what would have happened to my eyes if I started wearing prescription glasses when I didn't need them.
It weakens your eyes. I mean, I've seen enough of this at this point that there's so much that doctors do that are like, wait a minute, why are you doing that?
Yeah,
I did,
but question authority. You
yeah,
know,
question authority.
right?
I spent 7 years as a chapter leader for it's called the Weston Price Foundation. And if you're interested, if our listeners are interested at all in any kind of natural health, this is a great place to start. It's westonaprice.org. And
Hmm.
it's all about traditional foods. And this guy he was a dentist, and he was a dentist like this was in the 30s, which is right around the time when they were starting to get highly processed sugar and flour into the food stream.
Because there were more and more vehicles on the road, so now you can transport things faster from
Yeah,
place to
yeah,
place,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
what facilitated all this.
Right. And also, the idea of, white bread was, this was something that it was a little more expensive. So if you could have white bread, it was kind of like, it was like, ooh, shishi,
Yeah,
people
but it's
felt
crap.
wealthy. It was like, ooh, I'm special. I'm eating white bread. Um, but and I grew up on it. It's tasty.
Sure, tasty is one thing.
Yeah, well, I got a little story about bread for you when I'm done telling this one. So what he did is he realized that his patients, because like I said, he was a dentist, he was realizing that his patients suddenly had like way more cavities and crooked teeth because his dad was also a dentist than his father's patients had. And it was like, what is going on with this? And he thought it was
Mhm.
the food. So what he did is he traveled around the world. Literally, he spent like 10 years traveling the globe, two different cultures. And what he was looking for was he would look for native populations that were still eating their traditional foods, and then he
Mhm.
would find a matching population of the same group of people who had moved into the cities and were eating, what was then modern foods.
Right.
He took photographic evidence of all this. He has a book. It's called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. It's still in print. And he would have people do this, which is I'm making a big smile for anybody who's
Yeah.
just listening. And so that he would take pictures of their teeth.
Other teeth. Yeah.
And the native populations all had all of their teeth, big white smiles, um,
Interesting. Interesting.
solid jaws.
Wow.
Yeah, and even when they had cavities, like they might have a little tiny one, there was evidence that these things had healed.
Yeah. Cavities can heal.
Cavities can heal.
Yes, they
And so
can.
there was evidence of this. And so when he looked at the comparable populations, they would have crooked teeth, they'd have a ton of cavities, and they had accompanying emotional problems. They were more likely to be, they were more likely to be crime ridden or
Mm-hmm.
or have mental health problems or, other physical problems. And so, it's a very interesting comparison. So then he examined all of these different diets that these people were having because we're omnivores. So we can eat all of this huge variety of stuff. And
Right.
he went from the Arctic where people are just eating meat.
Yeah.
He went to the South Pacific where
Was
people are
this?
living on coconut.
Yeah.
And so he found commonalities among all of these cultures. It's like, okay,
Interesting.
this is
Interesting.
this is the different foods that every human culture eats. This is like the category, like, good fats and some fermented foods and, a certain amount of, animal protein. He did not find any culture in the whole world that just ate plants.
Huh.
Yeah.
No
So
vegetarian culture in the whole world?
whole world. Yeah, he looked and he wanted to find
But
that.
there were carnivore cultures or only
Oh yeah,
meat?
yeah,
Up
for
north, though, right? Most
yeah,
in the
up
Arctic, where there's
north.
no
Yeah.
growing season, right? That would
Yeah,
make
but
sense.
also in Africa. Like for example, oh, is it it's the Maasai, I think. They
But that
like
doesn't necessarily mean that's the like. Just because more people do it doesn't mean it's necessarily right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so my theory, I've told you my theory before. I'll give it to you again.
Right.
I think we originally are herbivores. The original people were herbivores, and I'm talking
For
about
the
before.
audience, I am rolling my eyes so hard as hard
That's
as
fine. Let
you
me
should
finish
be
with
able
my
to hear them
reasoning.
like marbles on a
Let
plate.
me give you my reasoning.
Hmm.
I think it goes back. You got to go back to now. There's evidence of human existence going back to, I believe, as long as 500,000 years ago. So I'm talking back then. I'm talking
You
back
mean
like
humans or do you mean pre-humans? Because humans are about
the
300.
earliest of the. So when did the earliest Homo sapiens show up? Was it 100,000 years
Um,
ago?
no, no,
Not that long ago.
humans as we know them
Homo
physically.
sapiens. We are Homo sapiens,
Homo
correct?
sapiens. Yeah, Homo
Okay. The
sapiens
first Homo
sapiens,
sapiens show up
about
when?
300,000 years.
Okay, so I'm talking about that period of time
Okay.
between 300 and 200,000 years ago. We'll say. I
Hmm.
think we were herbivores then.
You're wrong. There's no
And
evidence.
I think that because of our
Dude,
brains
there's
and our
no
ability to
evidence for
migrate,
that.
huh? I think we started off around the equator as
Wait, what
herbivores, and then
evidence do you have of this?
I don't. It's just a theory. I don't have it. I wasn't there,
Then why are you
but I can
talking about it?
because of the way we're structured. We don't have fangs like other meat eaters do. We have sharp teeth, but we don't have fangs, and we don't. Most meat eating beings have the instincts to jump out of bushes and attack things. We don't
Wait, you
have that
think we
instinct.
don't?
No, we don't. We don't have that. We don't have that
I,
instinct
I
to
think I think you haven't hung
like what
around with
cougars
any
do. What do
hunters. I
cougars
think
sit in trees? We don't do that.
yeah,
We
well
don't do that
that's our
instinctively.
body structure. That's our body structure.
I think that what happened was that once we started migrating to areas where you can't grow food as much, we had to improvise, and that's we learned to eat meat. And we learned, and then it became a thing. And then, of course, 300,000 years evolution
Dude,
can be
really,
count. You can cut 300,000 years is enough time to account for evolution.
no,
So
it's
we
not.
are, that's a long time.
That's
300,000 years
no,
is
no, that is a tiny, tiny amount of time
we can evolve in
in the in the
300,000
in the
years.
archaeological record. That is
I,
nothing.
but
It's
it's
I'm
enough time
serious.
to
That is
allow for
nothing.
some.
It takes
it
a
it
really
allow
long
it
time.
allows enough time for things like our appendix to not be used anymore, different
Uh,
functions in our body to change a little bit that may have adapted. So now we can eat meat. Now I agree, we are now truly omnivores. Now
dude, you really need to
I just
study
think
some
then we
art.
weren't.
Yeah, yeah, you need to, you have a
You're
theory.
gonna have to. Nobody can disprove what I'm saying either, though.
Yeah, they can.
How? How?
Okay.
I gotcha. Is there evidence of
No,
us
you
eating meat
didn't
back
get
then?
me. You're forcing me to like drag shit out of my brain that's somewhere else.
Well, maybe we can revisit
I'm
it
gonna
another time.
refer you.
I'll let you go back and revisit. We could talk about it on another show. Bring it up again. I just think that
Dumb.
it makes sense though because
No, it doesn't make sense. You haven't you all you're doing is you have a
have you
theory.
ever have you ever heard about the China study?
Yeah, and it's garbage. It's
It's
garbage. The China
it's a
study is
50-year
garbage.
study it's a
It's
there's 50 years.
cherry picked.
It also goes over multiple cultures and
No,
50
it's
years.
cherry picked. They cherry picked the information.
We'll have to.
Yeah, I mean, years and years ago. This is like you're asking me to go back 20 years and remember something.
Okay, well,
Yeah, you're asking me to go back 20 years, but
stuff
yeah,
I read was the
read the
stuff I
data.
read about this was 10 years ago. So
Yeah, yeah, I like read about this when they did it, which was 20 years ago when I
we're not
didn't.
structured like meat eaters, though.
Yeah, we are. It's just
We
like
are.
our
We don't have
brain.
claws.
We don't need claws.
But what other
We don't
meat
need
eater
them.
doesn't have claws? What other meat eater besides? I mean, do you? So you think we were always
Chimpanzees,
omnivore? Do you think? What's your theory? We're all.
chimpanzees eat
You
meat.
you thought we were always omnivores then
Yeah, we've been omnivores
from the beginning.
for millions of years.
From the
Like
beginning.
we
From
evolved from chimpanzees. I
okay.
mean, we evolved from that branch of the tree. Chimpanzees eat meat. They don't
Well,
have
that's true.
claws. They live in trees
They
mostly.
eat both. They eat
Yeah,
both,
they eat
right?
both. They're omnivores.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I'll have to
Um,
think it through, I guess.
yeah,
I'm
go
open
do
to
some
changing my
reading.
mind. I'm open to changing my mind if I can convince
Okay, I'm
otherwise.
going to give you a book to read. Then you come back to me.
Okay.
Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century.
Hunter Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century.
Yes, it's written
Okay.
by a pair of evolutionary biologists.
Okay.
So if anyone's going to know about evolution, it's a
Okay.
evolutionary biologist. So go read that and then we'll talk.
Okay. I will.
Okay.
Well, I'll at least read the most of it. Is it a long book? Because I'm busy.
No, it's not a long book. It's
Okay,
actually
if it's not a long book, I'll
it's
read it.
very readable.
Okay.
It's not going to be a brain twister or
I don't
anything.
have time to read War and Peace right now. You know what I mean?
Oh God, no, it's not like that. It's written for the average person. It's not, it's not written for people who, you don't have to have a PhD to understand it. And they are actually teachers, so they're really good at framing this stuff in a way that,
Yeah.
they when people are teaching something, they have to be able to dumb it down accurately.
Okay.
So that
Well, I think
when you want to learn more, you have the right boxes to fill up.
okay. Well, I think that I are very much on the same page though when it comes to the benefits of natural, alternative, holistic
Oh,
healing and
absolutely.
using food as thy medicine and
Absolutely.
medicine as thy food
Yeah.
versus the money train of what is called Western medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, no
that we
question
both
about that.
you and I are in lockstep on that area,
Yeah,
and
we have much more in common than
then we don't, right, in terms of
we
that.
don't. That's
And
just
who cares what happened 200,000 years ago anyway? Really, at the end of the day, right? What does that matter now? Really,
300. 300.
300. I'm sorry. Uh,
Might have been 350. I could be
two,
perfectly. It's not more than
yeah.
350 though. So
It is amazing though what we can find out from our earliest history now, based on DNA, the advances we made on DNA in the last 15 years or so.
it's
Like
very
because our history up until recently, you can only really go back what 4 or 5 thousand years to get a real feel for what happened. Now we're starting to get a lot bigger of an understanding of really what some of the. I understand. Like I saw something on where they've now learned that like 69,000 years ago or something like that, way back, there was some kind of a battle, some
hmm.
kind of a war that got fought between Homo sapiens and another.
Oh, I've been hearing about that. Yeah, though do you watch the Y files?
No, no,
Oh, you might
I
like
read
it.
about this stuff. I
Yeah.
would that'd be
Okay.
interesting, and just
It's
like we're
on
starting to
YouTube.
piece together these things where Like we might someday we might know like,
I
oh, in 71,650
yeah,
BC there was this, these struggle. There may have been a period of thousands of years where there was literally wars between
species.
different species of humans that were
Right.
fighting for dominance. And
Yeah,
maybe the Homo
I've been
sapiens
hearing
won that
bits and
war.
pieces
May-
about that. Yeah, that's
may-
it's interesting, and
yeah, it's
some of
incredible.
it, some of my brain goes, you know what? That was a long time ago. I have too much on my plate right now.
History fascinates me. It always has.
Yeah.
So maybe
It is quite fascinating.
maybe we, the Homo sapiens, are just the victoring species of some long war against some other humanoid
Yeah.
things that were here, the Neanderthals or whatever. That maybe
Well,
that's
the
maybe the reason
stuff
why
I heard about that particular piece was that the others were really, really nasty. And we don't shouldn't feel bad about the fact that they're here no more.
then maybe the good guys won. Then the good guys won. We're the good
Yeah,
guys.
we are here. That makes us the good guys.
We're gonna have the same thing now. Now we have a new battle amongst the Homo sapiens between the Marxist communist monarchs and the freedom-loving people of the world. That's the new one now.
Well, I'm hoping that it's see, this is where we get into the good and evil thing. This is an interesting thing for me because as a student of theology, which is what I'm doing right now, um, and we're going to see how my class goes tonight. I have my first, I, my last, I'm embarking on my last class for my degree this evening. That will be,
Excellent.
this will go through December. It's 12 weeks. And so the downside of a lot of seminaries is that the Marxists had inserted a ton of people into the seminaries during the 40s and 50s and probably, ongoing.
Hmm.
People into churches and people into seminaries. They deliberately did this, where they
Mm.
put people in, which makes me, I have two thoughts about this. The first is maybe because they did this in the Catholic seminaries too. Maybe those were the people that were doing the molesting. I have no proof of this, but
Hmm.
this occurs that this might have been who was doing the molesting, as opposed to someone who had an actual calling.
Hmm.
But the other thing is that, the Christian church did not do a particularly good job dealing with the the technology that started to come out and the changes in our society that it's like when you start talking dinosaurs to somebody who is
Adam and
adamantly
Eve.
sure that the
Yeah.
that the Bible is literal,
Right.
because this is a problem and you're going to lose
Yeah.
people, and that's it's one of the things that happened that caused them to lose me.
Sure.
There wasn't any explanation, and it might have been it might have happened anyway. I don't know, but I'm quite sure that having a bunch of Marxists in your seminary could not possibly have helped you be a better Christian and come up with good religious, with good spiritual and, good explanations for how you live your life in the world we have.
Yeah. One devout Marxist attending a Christian church is like a nuclear weapon
It
in
can
that
be.
church.
It can be if they
Yeah,
know
it can
how
be
to
if
weaponize
they're
emotion.
there for nefarious purposes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's like all they need is they twist the language a little bit this way and that way. And I think what we're finding is that people are very susceptible to this stuff.
Hmm.
There's what is the name? Hang on, I'm going to look up the author to this book I'm
I
reading.
think that I have what I call the Santa. I'm the Santa Claus religious guy. I'm of the school of the Santa Claus
Mm-hmm.
religion. It's be good for goodness sake.
Mm-hmm.
So and I guess what I'm saying is that there's a big tie between the right, our side, the Trump MAGA right, and religion. Whereas on the left, they're accused of being anti-religion, right, and turning down, which is true. The left is Marxist, anti-religion, and the right gravitates toward God and Christianity and different religions and things like that, especially Christianity here in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I drive that balance because I'm not a Christian. I'm not particularly religious. However, I'm very much on the right. So
Yeah,
that's why people say, how can so? And I think there's a lot of people like me actually that aren't particularly religious, but still
I think
believe in the
so.
economics of the right and and about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. What
Mhm.
makes us? Those are the things that I center on, and that's why people I call them the Santa Claus thing because really you're supposed to be good because God wants you to be good and you want to go to heaven and whatnot.
It's more than that.
What about being good for goodness sake?
It's
We're all being
it's
good because
it's
it's the
more
right
than
thing to
that
do.
though. It's more than that though. And Jordan Peterson does a great job of talking about this. It's that the practice of religion, first of all, it has, being a member of a congregation has all sorts of psychological benefits. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm not putting down. I want
no,
you to
no,
think.
I'm
Don't
not
get me.
I'm not
I think
assuming you
religion is
are.
great. I think it's great for people
Yeah.
that want to be part of it and part of. I
Mhm.
think it's wonderful, and there's nothing. Nobody will advocate to exercise the freedom of religion more than me. I think everybody should be able. If you want to worship your Ottoman, you go right ahead and do. And I mean that. If you want to be a devout Christian, Catholic, as long as you're not hurting anybody else or forcing on anybody else, hello Islam, then
Yeah, that's
then
a whole
everything's
other
fine.
conversation.
Then everything's fine, right? So, a matter of fact, I feel a little bit jealous sometimes. I wish that I could get myself to be a little more open minded to the idea of, oh wow, there's a place I can go. That's wonderful. If something happens to me, like
I
that'd be great, man. That'd be cool, huh?
I suspect that there's an emotional component, and I've spent a lot of time talking to people about how they experience, if they experience any connection to the divine. And
Hmm.
there are people who just don't seem to. They just don't. And then, like, I had this conversation with a friend, and this was over 20 years ago now. And my experience, this is just me in my life.
Yeah,
I walk outside, I feel the energy in the trees and the grass, and I feel it physically in my body.
yeah.
This is an
I do
experience
too.
that
I feel that too when I
okay,
go outside
fine.
on a sunny day and I'm in the
But
woods. I
I
feel that
was
too.
talking to my friend. I was like, "Do you feel this?" Because I'm like, it's like at that point I was still figuring out who, what of my craziness was me. And
Yeah,
he's like, "Nope, nothing like that." I'm like, "Okay, why am I
yeah.
feeling this and you're not?" This is
It's
like,
still there. It's still there for them. They're just not. They're not observing it. They're not believing
well,
it. You know.
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
that because I didn't at that point. I didn't have all the questions that I wanted to ask. And I mean, it's still a point of interest.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
and the I think, the problem that I always ran into was, of what's real versus what's not. And in Christianity, the fact that I can feel what's going on in a tree and
Mm.
I can walk around in my garden and, stick my finger in the soil and talk to the plants and say, well, do you need some fertilizer now? And get a yes versus a no. That's in Christianity, that is a bad thing. That's a big no-no. And, and this becomes problematic.
Yeah, that's
This
silly. I mean,
this is
well,
where my inner peace comes from.
to me, to personify. So the thing with me is that if for me, deities is something I feel like I really could embrace.
Hmm.
I just don't think it exists. That's the thing with me. If it existed, I would be like, oh yeah, like I'd be like God's right hand man. I'd be like, but I just don't think that exists. That's all. And and as far as like talking to plants and things like that, I think that there is something to that. I think that to me, the things that are actually here in front of me that produce energy, so a plant. If you talk, it's true. If you talk to your plants, they do better.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
But
some of that is the carbon dioxide
right,
you're
the carbon
breathing on.
dioxide you're spraying on
But
your plant when you're talking to it is helping it because that's
I'm
their oxygen,
okay
right?
with the academic and logical explanations for things. I just know
Sure,
that
it's still a
once
miracle in
you
my
get
mind.
once you get past a certain point, there aren't any explanations.
It's still
But
even
it's a
if they're
function of
even,
faith. And I'm
but
using that word very specifically in the idea that there is a lot of things in our world that we operate with on faith, and we get to pick what those are.
faith when you're driving down the road that the guy going by you isn't going to suddenly swerve
That's
into
one
your
of
lane
many
and kill
things.
you.
Yeah, that's a good example. That's a good,
That
yeah. I mean, that's a good
seriously,
example.
that is a faith that we all take
It
every day
is.
on the roads.
Yeah, it
And
totally
so
is. It
it
totally
is. You're
is.
trusting that person for that moment.
Sure.
But to me, the fact that we have this system where we have these green plants everywhere that we have this wonderful
Listen,
symbiotic relationship where the gases that they produce keep us alive, and then what we produce out keeps them alive. To me, that is all I need. I think that's a miracle in
I have,
itself.
you know what? This is,
That's all I need.
I have that same sense of that the system that we have is an amazing, like
Natural system.
mysterious,
Yeah.
incredible. It's like the earth is
It
amazing.
is almost like a deity in itself. Just the
Yeah,
fact
but
that
I
all
don't,
this has worked
but I
out like
would,
this.
but I wouldn't say, and the distinction here is if we think about the divine, it's like, what are you reaching upward for? Because and this is what I'm struggling with theologically, is that Christian religion is very much about reaching upward because it's aspirational. And I don't know
Because
how much
God's in the heavens and whatnot.
right,
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah, God in the heavens and it's upward reaching. And this and this goes back to, its roots in Judaism. And that's all good. I think that reaching upward is how we ended up with civilization.
sure. I think it goes back
I
before
like my
religion.
flush toilets. This
Goes
is
back
good thing.
before religion too. I mean, just the fact that very first people must have been looking at the stars and the moon and going, "Oh,
Yeah, that's
this is
fair. Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Yeah, and so just wanting to do better, but it's like,
yep,
so there's that, but there's also what happens is that when you're constantly reaching upward, if you start saying that what's on this earth is a bad thing, you're going to lose the people who take a great deal of pleasure in what's going on in this earth,
sure."
and it's
It's too bad that people say that. I
it
don't feel that
shouldn't.
way, but
I
it's too bad
don't
people say
see
that.
why we need to separate that. And that's my religious path is I we don't need to. It's like we can have the above, we can reach for that, but this is sacred too.
Sure, of course. To me, that's the thing. That's what keeps me. The fact that that this did happen, that we've evolved into these beings, and that we have this system, that we literally have an id in our system that looks out for us beyond our own consciousness, make sure we heal when we get hurt, make sure the
Mhm,
right chemicals are going to the right places. It's a
mhm.
miracle. The fact that and then there's all these animals around that we have symbiotic relationships with that we would if we chose to, and the fact that to me all that is just amazing, and that's all I need. I don't need any furtherance of the story. I don't need to think that there's another world somewhere else above or below. I don't feel like the need to personify this into a man up in the sky who's judging us or whatever. Like I think that just to me that's all fantasy land stuff. I think the real I'm probably closer to you than I am to the Christians, like pagan more.
I'm
I don't
yeah, yeah, I think you probably
you know,
are.
just in terms of
I'm
it's
gonna
a
push
natural, like
back a
maybe
little.
more like what Native Americans would do. I know Native Americans very much worship the animals around them and the trees around them and things like that. I think my thing would be closer to something like that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't express it as worship. I wouldn't use that word.
Yeah,
I
worship's a
do.
strong word. I don't worship really anything,
Yeah, it's
but when
it's
I get up
more
in the
like
morning and I go outside of
holding
my
respect.
when I
And
go out in the morning and I patio, sometimes in the morning I take off my shirt and I sit out in the patio for about 20 minutes, let the vitamin D,
mhm.
the sun rays, and I just look back and I look up at it. And I'm like, I look at the sun. I just like, oh, it feels so enlightening and so wonderful. And it actually creates meditation where I'm not thinking about the politics or the world's problems, nothing about Connecticut's problems.
Mhm.
And it just takes me away. And that's really, isn't that what kind of religion is all about in a way? Like,
Yeah, well,
somewhat just
religion has
looking up
many
to something that
functions. And that's one of them. It
is
religion
definitely more
should
powerful
be
than me. It definitely is
it
more
should be
powerful than me. You
something
know?
a comfort. Religion should be a comfort.
Hmm.
It should be something that, like, for example, when I speak to the divine, I had the experience of, so I have a stepdaughter that I raised, and that it was incredibly difficult, and she was really difficult.
Yeah.
And she had mental health problems, and she managed to graduate from school, and we really hoped that she would work in her profession. She decided she wasn't going to do that.
Uh-huh.
And she had a diagnosis, which I'm not going to go into.
Yeah.
But so I was like, I had to get her out of the house. So I prayed on it. I was like, I don't know what to do. Someone tell me what to do.
Uh-huh.
3 in the morning, the words drop into my head. Let's
Okay.
buy a duplex in Norwich, and it was that specific.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So, and this isn't the first time I've had that kind of
Well, that's
communication.
interesting.
Now, some people would say, "Oh, it was your, it was your soul speaking to you or whatever." I'm like, for me, it is the divine
How far from Norwich were you at the time?
here.
Oh, you're in Ansonia? Damn, that's a long ways away. Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, there were reasons for that. I mean, there were a lot of reasons why that was,
Yeah.
the right thing, but it was that specific. And so when people talk about, hearing from, I call it the unseen world. I have a practice
Yeah.
that I use, that I step back and I work through my, it's like a series of prayers, and I work through this series of prayers going from, and it's the idea is that you're connecting the roots up to the sky, and
Hmm.
it's the axis mundi. It's the center of the world. It's like you're kind of going up the center of the world. And I've done this practice for, I don't know, it's probably been 15 years. And it has served me very well, because sometimes you need to be grounded and sometimes you need to reach up a little bit. And
Sure.
you
About
can't
balance.
constantly be going up the hill, because you just, me, I don't have the skills for it. I wasn't, no one gave me the
It's
damn
about,
skill set I needed to
it's
keep
about
going
balance.
up that damn hill.
It's
So
about balance. It's
yeah, so
about
I
balance.
do a spiral, I just spiral my way up a little bit at a time. You go a little bit better every time.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. Look what the lion does. The lion hunts,
Hmm.
does its thing, and then it sits around in the afternoon and just
You got to
enjoys
take a
the
break.
moment,
You got to
and
take a
then goes
break
out and hunts a
sometimes.
little
It's
more.
okay. Yeah.
Right? That's what you do. You climb the hill a little bit and you sit down, relax, take a relax on the bench, right? And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Some people, and I think anybody who does too much of either one is not doing the right thing. So people who work and do nothing but work and climb and climb and climb and
Hmm.
just miss life.
Yep.
They don't know how to enjoy what they've earned from it. And then others are simply lazy and don't do anything with their lives
Yeah.
and waste
It's
it
like,
that way.
you got
So
to
it's
do some
about balance.
reaching,
It's about working
You're,
hard and then
yeah,
work hard,
you're
play
here
hard.
on this earth. You got to do some reaching. Sorry.
You know
That's
how they say work hard, play hard?
Mhm.
It's work hard, play hard, and then rest.
Deeply.
Work hard, play hard, rest deep. Yep.
Yep.
So, and I feel, and I do think you're getting back to the original people again, the earliest of human beings, the my theory
Mhm.
plating people. I think they were all. I think the original people worshipped the sun
It was, well, there was,
before
yeah,
religion,
I'll look,
before
I'll
written,
go back and
before
look.
writing, before civilization, before
Yeah.
writing, before language, even maybe.
That's called prehistory, by the way. Anything before writing.
Anything
Yeah.
before writing in history is prehistoric. Correct.
Prehistoric. Yeah.
I think the prehistoric people
That's
may have
when
been
we're into
something.
archaeology. That's
Right.
archaeology.
So
But
we
there's a religious historian called Mircea Eliade, and he has. I have to go back and read it again. But he talks about the um, religious proclivities of the ancient world, which he's pretty much deriving from like cave paintings and stuff like
hmm
that, which is and artifacts that they found and what have you.
Yeah, get a sense of what the earliest people were thinking.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it's very interesting stuff. We are religious beings by nature. It's built into our biology.
well, it's natural. That makes sense because it's natural for to yearn for what else is out there.
It is, but we literally have brain structures
Yeah,
that get into this. There's a I might even
we're
have
learning more and more about the different
Yeah.
things that different
Well,
parts of the brain do.
this is like even in the last, it's been about 20 years, I think. There's this great little book called Why God Won't Go Away, and we're into one of my favorite subjects here. But this guy, it was
God won't go away. Is that
yeah,
an atheist
that's
that
a good
wrote
one.
that?
Yeah, it's a really good one. Uh,
Yeah,
I'll put these in the show notes.
yeah,
Um,
do it. Yeah,
so Why
do the
God
one for me too. Do the 20 hunting and gathering in the 21st century one.
Okay, I will.
Okay, glad I can find it.
Eugene DeKeely, who is deceased, and Andrew Newberg. DeKeely's an MD, Newberg is a PhD. And what they were doing was they took groups of experienced meditators and prayer people. Like they took a group of nuns, and they took some like Buddhist meditators, and
Uh-huh.
they wired them up with and I don't know specifically what it was, like magnetic resonance something or other.
Yeah,
And so they could
everything.
inject
Yeah,
it. They literally had it. They could inject a dye into their brain. And so what they would do is they gave them like a trigger that they could push, and they would
uh-huh.
have them meditate in a room. So they had to be experienced at this, because God knows you're in this horrible, like, oh God, here, let me inject something into my brain. And they were still able to
Right,
meditate and pray and when they achieved the state of, you know, want unity with the universe, when they had there's the sensation is the boundaries dissolving, and you become one with something greater than yourself. You
right.
disappear, your identity disappears.
Sure.
And I've had that experience, and I've
Cool.
had it more than once. Uh,
Wow.
fairly, it's like not every day or weekly or anything, but when I need it, it's like,
Sure.
so literally they had them once they had that state, they would press the button and this dye would be injected in their brain and then they would do a scan on them. And what they found is that when you have this experience of your boundaries dissolving, it specifically goes to this place in your brain called the orientation association area, which is right about here on the side of your head.
Hmm.
This is what this particular spot in the brain does is it it lets you identify the difference between you and not you. Like it's what keeps you from running into doorways and stuff. Some people
Okay.
are not that great at that. But it's what lets you say, okay, this is me, this is the boundary between myself and the floor, between myself
Okay.
and everything else. And this is an important piece because if they when they were first building robots,
You're
the robots
balancing it.
couldn't determine this, and the robots would
Okay.
run into everything.
I
Uh,
see.
so what happens is that this area of the brain, like electrically, gets completely overwhelmed. There's like firestorm in there.
Right.
And so what's interesting is they did after some further study, they found that you could do this in meditation, but it also worked with they called it like, it was like being very active, like if you were doing dancing.
Hmm.
And I've, again, this is the state that I've done myself, where if you are, say, dancing around a fire for hours and hours and hours to the sound of drums, that will put you in that brain state.
Right.
So you have the
Like a
active.
Grateful Dead song now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, this is one of the reasons
Yeah.
why people loved those concerts.
Right.
Is
Right.
that
Right.
it's like, and
Yeah.
of course there were a certain amount of drugs involved
Of
for some,
course.
but this is
I
also,
went to a Grateful Dead concert, stone sober once, and I had a great time. So I'm saying,
well, there you go. See, you didn't need it.
couple drinks, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good.
But
Um,
but
so, and then, there were some variations where if you were very active and then you stopped and, you could have like, it was like a breakthrough kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, so we have the brain structure. It's like we evolved with this. We're evolved with it. The ability to change our brain state. And what was really cool about this particular book was that the scientists could have said, "Oh, this is all just biology." They didn't. They
Yeah.
said, "We don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know exactly what the benefit of this is from an evolutionary standpoint." And I could
Yeah.
I could speculate on that, on what the
Right.
evolutionary benefit of that would
Yeah. We
be.
don't really know though, right? We don't know
Yeah, but
scientifically. They
they
don't
didn't
know.
try. They were very humble. They were like, "This is really cool. We want to
Yeah.
share it with you, but we're not going to use this as an excuse to say God doesn't exist," which I
Right.
really appreciated.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty cool.
It's funny. We started off the show by saying this is going to be all about Connecticut.
I
We
know, and it
haven't
ended
mentioned
up
a
not
word
being.
about Connecticut all the time.
That's
But this applies to everybody in Connecticut now too.
Well, you know what? I think we all need some source of solace. There's a lot of despair out there in Connecticut, because we've been at this for a long time, and churches, which have been a source of solace for people, have been
Yeah.
struggling, and there's a lot of these rainbow churches out there that really,
Like Jake talked about last week.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Pastor Jake talked about the other, last week. Yeah, it was just last week, wasn't it? So it's hard to find spiritual, and religion is supposed to be about that solace and believing that things are going to be better.
Hmm.
And it's been hard for us in Connecticut because we don't have. So if you are spiritually inclined, try and find other people that will support you in that. And maybe once I'm done school, maybe I'll start something myself because
Great.
because it isn't enough. I mean, the Christians need each other, and that's important.
Hmm.
And I totally am in support of that because I will take Christian values over the Muslims any day of the week. Um, and
Yes.
we have this beautiful thing called the Constitution, and we have the First Amendment, and that gives me a right to practice my religion as long as I'm not reeling in people and, young people and giving them chest binders.
Hmm.
Since I don't
Right.
have to do that, we're good. But as how we practice our religion, how we connect to the divine. I think it matters less how we do it, as long as we're being legal and shit. I said the S word. My bad.
That's
I don't think I'm
your
a,
first time.
I know we're being honest here. But we need to have that connection in order to believe that things are going to be better, you know. And ideally, we have a community of people to support us in that action because for the most part, we are social beings.
Hmm.
And it's
Well, that's one of the things, the goals of the deep left here in Connecticut is to isolate people from one another
absolutely.
and isolate parents from their children and separate
Oh, big
siblings
time.
and get families fighting with one another. And
Yeah.
it's meant to, and that's deliberate, an evil, deliberate attempt to break apart relationships among
Yeah.
people
It's
in order
unhuman.
to make them feel alienated and therefore turn to the state
Yes.
for
Yes.
their resolution, and that's not it's a power grab, nothing more. It's an evil power grab. It's nothing more. And if you really look carefully at the struggle between the state and the family, you look at the policies that the left does espouse versus what we're talking about here in the MAGA movement, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it is.
You just have to look
Once
at
you
it at the
see it, you can't
fabric.
unsee it.
Yeah, right. What exactly? And I saw some documentary about this about 15 years ago, and toward the end, they said once you start to see the lies, you
Hmm.
see what's happening, you'll see them everywhere. You'll realize everything that comes up, you'll see it in the context of what it really is, which is basically a screw job of an attempt to destroy the Western world, an attempt by Marxists and communists and monarchs as well
Yep.
from around the world to take down the free world, the Western world,
Yeah.
which is a Western world based on, thanks to the United States, based on freedom of speech, right to
Hmm.
bear arms, to protect you and your family, right to a reasonable education,
Hmm.
and whatnot. And so, right to be properly informed and right to speak out is the main thing. The first two amendments are everything. The right to
Yeah.
free speech and the right to bear arms to protect that free speech.
Yep.
Those are the two. That's what the Western world is all about. That's not what Islam. That is not what the
Marshall.
rest of the world is about.
Yep.
Not what Marxism is about. Connecticut is the crux of this battle right now. We're
Yeah.
really like a swing state now. We've become a battleground state in a lot of ways. Not
Yeah.
in the election results, but in the people,
And the
because the
people.
people in Connecticut are
Yeah,
so
this is
much
a
on our
fight.
side.
Yeah, this is a fight for the people. And I still want to find a way to um open the eyes of people who have been duped because they have
Yes.
been duped. They've been
They
duped.
have been duped. They've been duped badly. And then I also want to point out every week we usually mention that we want people to go to the RTC meetings and make a presence and in big groups and whatnot. But recently we've come to another realization. Again, I've mentioned this before. I'm going to say it again. There are hundreds of thousands of registered Democrats in here in Connecticut, I know,
Mhm.
that are disavowed with their party now. See where it's gone. There are plenty of registered Democrats and independents that have voted Democrat in the past that don't want kids mutilated without their parents' permission.
Mhm.
And they see their party doing these crazy things and they don't know what to do. So I want you, if you're a registered Democrat that has common sense, I want you to flood your Democrat town committees
Yeah.
meetings,
Get
not
back.
just
The
go to your
socialists stole it. Take
go to
it
your
back.
they call them DTCs, I guess. Go to your DTCs,
Yeah.
okay, and start preaching common sense. Because right now, if you're a common sense Democrat, and there are common sense Democrats out there,
Yes,
by the
there are.
way, that
Yeah.
don't get a lot of publicity, but I know there's a lot of them. They're out there right now, and I'm talking to you if you're one of them. You can. It's time for you to start a revolution in your own party
Yeah.
because and speak out and stop this. Don't be afraid. Earlier, you were talking about the Trump bus running all over the state and people walking up and wanting to say hi and congratulate them, but don't want to go in the bus to see their picture taken.
Mhm.
Come on, people, wake up. You people outnumber the rest of these people.
Yeah. You have
So
to
don't
figure
be
out.
afraid to go on the bus, for Pete's sake. Don't be afraid to speak out. So go to your DTC meetings in groups of 5, 6 people. I got to think there's got to be little small groups of Democrats in house gatherings and private gatherings
Oh,
saying, "What is our party doing? Why is our party
yeah.
espousing these things?" So don't be silent. Come out and fix your party, fix it.
Yeah.
There's more. I think there are
We
more of
need
you than
worthy
within the
opponents.
Democratic Party. Within the
Yeah.
Democratic Party framework itself, there are
Yeah.
probably more people that think like us than there are that think like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wake up and fix your party so you become a viable um, party that we become once again two parties that fight over different values within the framework of the American
How to
ideal.
get from point A to point B. That's like
Right
we can have that conversation.
within the
Yeah.
framework of the American ideal, though,
Yeah.
not the Marxist ideal. That's not
Right.
going to fly.
Yeah. Yeah. Then
So
that's, yeah.
anyway, are we there?
I think we're there.
Okay. We got a little bit on Connecticut at the end. All this applies to Connecticut, even if we talk about other stuff. It all applies to Connecticut. It all works. We're all people here too. We're Homo sapiens here in Connecticut, last I checked, right?
Homo sapiens sapiens. That's
Super
different.
Homo sapiens in Connecticut. We're Homo nutmeg sapiens, is what we are.
All righty then. Um,
Homo
okay. All
With
right.
that, we're going to say goodbye for this week. Thank you for joining us at Connecticut Common Sense. We're going to try to get Wilcox. Wilcox was the guy, right? He didn't make it this week. He probably has something come
Yeah,
up.
we'll see what happened. And
We do it.
on Thursday, we have a very special guest for 9/11. We have, drum roll,
John Flynn, the
very
one and
good,
only.
one and only
So,
John Flynn. So,
but
yeah, so we're gonna see if we can, well, he'll be on. He's excited about it. We're excited about it. So, yeah, it'll be a good day to have him on.
sure
So,
will. And we'll get Wilcox back on here. So
yeah,
something must just come
yeah,
up. So,
yeah. We'll just,
okay, with that, God bless America. God bless Connecticut.
and you guys have a wonderful couple of days, and we'll be back in two, and get yourself ready for 9/11 and just remembering all that because I
Mhm.
still cry. I still cry for that.
We could talk a little bit about that on that day. We should.
Yep, we should.
Okay, then.
All right. See you
Bye,
later.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.